because, on the weekends, and getting food and getting social stuff to do. And that's when I think we were going out to see shows with Harriet and me. I think, I don't know if the World's Fair was open that time, but we probably did some time that way in the World's Fair in Long Island. Then, in 1966, maybe, there's a party that my roommates were involved in. These guys up the front of the fraternity house. Well, they were going with girls, and they ended up with a party, and with the nursing school. And it ends up, my roommate, Carl Mogilevsky, who became an orthopedic surgeon eventually, big guy, and he started dating your mother. And I found out later she didn't like him. He was overbearing. He's very loud and very into what he's going to do. His brother was in the medical field. I think he was a doctor. And he's going to follow his brother, and he's going to make all kinds of money and doing all kinds of stuff. And she didn't like him. And so the other guys see her at this party, and they came back. He says, they've got this woman that I might be interested in. So I says, I got nothing else to do. So I went up, got in the car, and probably I don't know, it was a VW at that time. But I finally find a place, and this is the northeast Philadelphia. And I remember walking up to the house and getting let in by your mother's, your grandmother, Fanny, and she yelling down to the basement where your mother was and saying, your date is here, and your mother already has been looking at me through the windows from the basement, and she noticed a few things that she didn't like about me, because I had red socks and I had, I think, a corduroy jacket, and I would, in other words, my outfit was not well done. And then we go out and we go to I guess a coffee place that had some liquor in it or something like that, a dancing place. And what happened is, she was a good-looking girl, very good-looking, striking, and I liked her right away. And is the type of thing, I'm about 29, I don't remember how old I was. She was 19, I guess I was 9 years older. Yeah, okay. So, is the type of thing that I didn't want it to know my age, because I figured if I'm too old for her, I wouldn't be able to be a good candidate. And I found out later she didn't want me to know her age, because she wanted to act much older. And so anyway, on the date, what I did, as we left her house and got into the car and started on our way, I started telling her my life story. Okay, get her all over it. Here's what I did. I grew up this way. I went to school this way. Brought up in this type of family. She heard this and she says, "Oh, this guy's a blowhard." And then in the middle of the day, after I got finished with this, I says, "Okay." And then I went to medical school. Now you. I told her, I said, "Now it's your turn." And then she was sort of unable to carry. She wasn't prepared for this, because now my blowhard, I was a blowhard. And all of a sudden, I'm putting the thing on her for her story. And so I guess she was impressed that I did this, and that was it. I think after that, she had another date the following day, and I pulled up to the house the following night, that day, with her boyfriend, on the taking her home, and she saw me, and it started from there. This now, all of a sudden, all this business of superficial dating was not there anymore.
Right.
In other words, this was a girl I wanted to be with. Okay, and this was, and which shocked me, because I figured, you go around this single life, and this is the way it's supposed to be. But anyway, that's where it was. So very soon, I was able to bring her to visit my brother and Harriet. And so she met with Harriet, and it was very similar personality, lively, jovial, interested in all that kind of stuff. They met with Lorraine Neistat, who now Hank's marriage there, and Lorraine was very friendly with Harriet too, and so was Hank. And they all hit it off, everybody, and so it's like a natural. And but that's the way things evolve. Harriet was replaced after a while with food. I didn't need her. I got to your mother's house, and she would be preparing everything. That's the way it went.
Now, what happened with Harriet? What's the story?
She died quick, very quick. Also with a Hodgkin's disease, a series of it. And it almost became a situation, and I forget who said this, where the Nicholas women was somehow got this thing, this problem. And it was a problem with, I don't know if your mother started with this thing also, worrying about it. The other thing, oh yeah, what?
Were you married when Harriet died at that point? Or were you still dating?
Wait a minute. This was 1967 now.
So that's the year you got married?
Yes. I think she died already. She died. She died with she had the kids, and the kids were little. And so I'm not sure if there was a tie-in to the age of the kids. But I think she was dead already by the time. In fact, I remember the funerals and stuff like that, and I went with your mother there. Anyway, I'm trying to figure out where I was. Okay, and, oh yeah, with Harriet's babies, my brother's babies, he quickly went to Parents Without Partners, and he met Renee, who was in another tough situation. Husband recently died, suddenly, with babies. Okay, so now that's the way that family got together. It was like a need. That was an interesting time too, because Mom wanted to get married faster than I even knew. Okay, she had certain issues. First of all, she wanted to get out of her house. Very critical household. It was stuff that her mother and her didn't like each other. Father was like there, okay, very strict. In fact, when I decided we were going to get engaged, she told me, she says, the proper thing to do, I have to ask for her hand from Harry. Okay, and I had to do that, just to make him satisfied with tradition. We once made a party for her, a birthday party or something like that, and I says, let's go out. I had a stall, get her out of the house because everybody else was going to come over to the house and surprise her. So we're going to go shopping, okay? And she figures it's for a ring, okay? And I figure it's for shoes, because that's what happened. I went shopping for shoes. She was very upset when I found out later, what was going on here. Because I didn't have any intent, for marriage right away. I figured, there's plenty of time. Your mother's concern because of Rita. Rita had a tough time, and they went to fertility clinics and stuff like that because she couldn't get pregnant. And they had all kinds of investigations and stuff like that of sperm counts and hormone levels and things like that. And whatever she did, couldn't get pregnant. So your mother figures that's such a situation with her. And I didn't know from nothing.
Now, are we already married?
Well, yes, that was part of the thing anyway. But very quickly after we got married was having babies. And I didn't know from that, because got married, 67, 68, graduated, and internship in Ohio. And in Ohio, we started with sperm counts, and we started with, Y and stuff like that. She went to some kind of gynecologist out there, and I remember. But for me, I wasn't that interested anyway. I wasn't that anxious. But she was, and found out later she was, how much she was. Anyway, the business of she wanted to be older, and and I wouldn't tell her what my age was. And Harriet was in on this. And when we went out to see them, on whatever number of occasions, she would try and get them to tell her how old I was, really. And they were in on this thing to not say anything. In fact, on the first date, when we went out to this coffee place, she wanted to look older, so that I ordered a scotch and soda. That was my drink at that time, or a rye and ginger, or whatever it is. And she ordered the scotch also. She never had scotch. She didn't like scotch. But she did it because that's supposed to be older. But anyway, that was it. The first date was it. It was.
Yeah. For both of you, she was.
She was, yes. I found out later. I didn't know, but she was very.
Even though you were wearing the socks.
Yeah, she got over that. She reminded me of it later.
And she used to give you shit because of the language. She said you knew more languages than you.
Oh, you. Sid Caesar, you remember it? Anybody, Sid Caesar? I would put on a language, okay? I would make a dialect, and I would mention words. I knew a few words, but I would use the dialect plus the few words and stick them in between. Nonsense. And she was very impressed. I knew a few words of Russian, for instance, from when my family didn't want me to understand them. They were talking a couple of words, and so I'd throw that in, and just gibberish. And she was very impressed with that.
Was she mad when you found out you were making it up?
But she didn't know.
But she found out later, though. You never heard the end of it.
Oh, she would tease me on it.
Do you remember proposing, things like that?
It was sort of accepted. What happened, there was the fraternity would give us a fraternity pin. And so very shortly, I gave her the pin.
Okay.
It's the significance that she's pinned, whatever it means. Okay, Then after that, you're supposed to get engaged. Okay. And proposing, no. I don't remember actually proposing. It was just accepted.
Okay.
She does look like Eve, though, huh?
Oh, yes. Once we decided we're going to get married, then it's a matter of organizing this thing. And she started becoming very elaborate with it. And I guess her family got started very elaborate with the plans of flowers and booze and everything like that. Who's supposed to do what? And when I saw what was happening, I said, I don't think this is a good idea. I said, your parents can't afford that. My parents can't afford it. We're not going to do it. And so we're going to have something simple at a small synagogue that she used to go to, and on Roosevelt Boulevard in Philadelphia. And we go in there and make arrangements and stuff like that. And as far as the wedding goes, we're going to have one of the rooms for the wedding, for the ceremony, and then another room for a small place where they're going to have the food and everything like that. And we're each going to have a best man and a best, the first, what do you call it, a maid of honor or something like that. And my best man was Carl Mogilevsky, my roommate, who was very upset actually since I was dating the one he was dating before. He liked her, and but she didn't like him. So he was he didn't like it, but anyway, that's the way it was. And hers was Sue Rubin. Sue Rubin was a classmate in nursing school. And so we go in, we have to sign the contracts or whatever it is, the license.
Ketubah.
You get a license downtown.
The ketubah? Oh, the
Yeah,
regular
ketubah,
license.
yeah, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And so the rabbi is talking to both of us and giving an explanation of something I do not remember. And at the end of it, he asks, do I have any questions? And I says, yes. And he says, what can I answer? And I says, do you have a metal hanger? And he doesn't understand. What do you mean, a metal hanger? I need one of these metal hangers that's come from, the dry cleaner or something like that. Why do you need that? I locked my keys in my car, and I've got to get in there. So, anyway, that was that.
Were you trying to be funny? Were you having fun?
No, this was
with
serious. I think during the excitement of going in there and signing all that kind of stuff, I actually left the keys and I locked the door. And I was wondering, how do I do it? What do I do? And I used to do this at one time when I got in trouble. I used to able to snake a metal hanger in there and grab the button. So,
Okay. So, do you remember much of the wedding?
the wedding, not really. I remember that she had a chuppah on top of us. And I remember my little white yarmulke. And I remember her headpiece got caught in the chuppah. And she was very upset about that because she couldn't walk around after that because the thing caught onto it. Other than that, it was just routine, superficial type stuff. From there, it was arranged on Thanksgiving weekend because we can go to Miami on honeymoon over that long weekend. That's why we did it. So everything's arranged because I had time off from school on that time.
Do you remember the reception? Here, let's bring up the picture.
I remember the tables. Yeah, I can recognize it in the in this taking a picture of the tables of your mother's family. Yeah, Harry's in the background. Your grandmother's in the background.
Right, and so you get the
Yeah,
her parents, your parents,
yeah.
nobody else. No Carl, no.
Carl was in another picture, I remember. In this picture, I don't see Carl.
Okay.
So this could have been just the families. There was another group shot at this wedding before. I guess you didn't copy it. Was with Carl in there and this Sue Rubin in there. Other than that,
So it's just a simple thing.
very simple. It was planned to be. I sort of gave her a hard time. She wanted a lot more, and I sort of gave him a hard time. I didn't want to waste money on this.
Okay. And then you went down to Miami.
Yes, and we went to a motel and with a pool. And first thing you do, you get on the big bed and you count your money. 'Cause we went right from the wedding. We took a flight down there, and it was on Eastern Airlines. Eastern Airlines is out of business now, and we kept the spoons they give you when they give you the meal, just as a souvenir. And I remember later, they were tiny spoons, tiny forks. They became very rusty. We got rid of them.
Now, she kept a scrapbook.
Oh yes, yes. She kept a scrapbook that I didn't know she kept, but it had theater stub tickets or show stub tickets from since we started dating. And she kept everything, and plus little statements, a few words on the back of everything, and it has letters. There were a lot of letters. Your mother was a very good writer, and she kept all the mail. I did a lot of writing, and I didn't remember doing it.
I'm surprised you did too.
Yeah,
But you did a lot of writing.
a lot of writing, and it was usually comments on her having trouble in school. She's getting herself ready for a test, and I would be counseling her on, relaxing and things like that, and the plans for the weekend and plans, whatever, how we're going to take a trip to my brother's house or go to wherever we were going. I remember we once went to, let's see, Gary, class ahead of me in medical school. He got married to somebody in Brooklyn. And I wish I remember his name. Anyway, the person he's marrying is extremely wealthy. And living, and the wedding extremely fancy. And so I think I had a tuxedo that I rented, and she had a gown. Your mother had a gown. And we don't want to wrinkle it. Okay, so we're riding up. In order not to wrinkle it, we had to change in the car. And it's funny. Because we're across the street from where this reception is, and we're changing from regular clothes to gowns and tuxedos, and it was amazing. And that wedding didn't last more than a year. She couldn't stand him because he snored, or something like that, or whatever it was. It was terrible.
Okay.
Uh,
Anything else in the scrapbook?
well, the scrapbook had all my clippings in it.
You used to give weird presents to her that you didn't remember, right? You give her fish hooks or something?
I once gave her yeah, I think she expected really big deal stuff. And I bought her a lamp so she could study with. And I would make presents for her. I'd write poems. I didn't want to do anything conventional, nothing that's standard. I wouldn't go. I hated shopping. I hated to go out to a store and try and figure out what you would want. Mm-hmm. So I just avoided. So I would make up my own, or I'd make up a poem, or make up a song, whatever.
Right. What was life like in the fraternity house with her?
She didn't like it. She had, I don't know if there's 6 or 8 other boys, men, in various rooms. We had one of the rooms. The one that, the couple that fixed us up, originally fixed me on the blind date, were in the front room with their girlfriends living in the same place. So this place was crazy. The fraternity house, we had separate areas in the refrigerator for each one of us, and there was stealing foods, of course. Separate places in the cabinets.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was an experimenter of things to cook for me. And did I tell you these stories?
I've heard some of them.
Okay. One of the things, she was trying to impress me with a roast duck. The roast duck business was, we weren't married yet, but she wanted to prepare a meal to invite me that was classy, to impress me. And this one was designed, and this is the same thing as this chicken thing. It was designed about what she learned on a cooking show on TV. And of course on TV, they show you putting in the duck, preparing it, stuffing it, putting it in the oven, and then at the end of it, they show how it comes out, the way it's seasoned and everything like that. She did that, and then I come in and sit down at the table, and she cuts into the duck and it splatters blood. And the reason is, she realizes later that's because it takes that amount. She cooked it for that amount of time that it was on TV. And the same thing later on happened in preparation of something else in the fraternity house, where it was undercooked or over seasoned or something like that. And when it was served, it splattered. And some of the other guys that come into the same kitchen that's shared wanted to lick the food off the ceiling or the lampshades. She was very upset with that. She was a joker, practical jokes, and especially during Halloween and things like that. And actually, she would get together with a sister, or some of her, this is before her, some of the nursing school class, and they would invade the fraternity house during Halloween sessions and do stuff. After we got married, we stayed in a room that's next to the bathroom, and it's a common bathroom. And she would feel, in a practical joke mood, the need to put saran wrap on the toilets. So when the guys would pee, the toilets would splatter all over the place. And she would listen because we're right next to her to the reaction. I was always a saver and a fixer-upper, and so, and as the head of the household in the fraternity house, I would pick up somebody that threw out a washing machine, on a curb, get it into the car somehow, and bring it to the fraternity house and see if I could fix it. So we would have a place for laundry. This particular washing machine was such that it had a burnt out or an overheating transformer. Now, you can't buy another transformer. I would really want to, because it was junk. This stuff is junk. And I found to cure the overheating, I would have to take it out of the wherever it was and put it in some water. And so the water would be the coolant. Okay? And that used to work for a while. But that she didn't like that either.
No.
But everybody else used it, it was something to use. Seymour Shiowitz lived above us in the fraternity house. He was an Orthodox Jew. And he was the only one that complained about the heat. He didn't get heat in the winter time. And I was in charge of paying the fuel bill. So I was very concerned. Yeah, everybody else is warm. What are you complaining about? So I got a hold of a hairdryer. And I discussed with him the engineering viability of the idea that if you close the windows, there's no place else for the heat to go, so the hairdryer is enough, to heat the whole room. Also Seymour, he had certain routines. He was Orthodox, so therefore on Saturdays or Friday nights or something like that, he couldn't turn on things, or turn off things. So we used to tease him that as you walked into the fraternity house, you walk into the living room, and right away the TV was there, the couches were there. And so on Saturdays, he would sit down there too, and he's really not watching, he's just have his book in front of him, but we while the TV's on. So as we're leaving, we would say to him, is it okay we turn off the TV now? And he would have to express himself, well, I don't care, stuff like this. But that type of thing, we would do things which obviously he was watching and just to annoy him. Also, he had a fetish where he enjoyed shiksas. So he always wanted to be fixed up with the shiksas at a nursing school, even though he's not allowed to do anything with them, and it was just a lot of teasing.
Right.
So we would really do things to him to annoy him. There were things there. The other guys in the fraternity house, some of them were very, very smart. And they were very tuned in how to get away with things at school. So I remember during finals, crisis times in finals, one of the guys, he became a radiologist. He figured out he knew the routine of the school of how they prepared the tests. And so he once snuck into the school and were able to get under the door of the people that print the tests with a tool and fish out the thing, make copy of it, and then put it back. So we were prepared. Then we advertised it to the other fraternities. We've got this, what are you going to give us in return?
Who was Sandra's father?
Yeah.
Did he pass away?
He died. He died very quickly, probably heart disease. I never knew him. But his name was Charik. That was her original name.
Okay.
And then, of course, I think my father, adopted, and Ethel adopted, and, made it so it was one family.
Right, right.
But that's the same thing that happened with Renee and my brother. He adopted everybody,
Mm-hmm.
and she, I guess, did the same thing with everybody.
What else?
Okay, another memory I have was with the fraternity house, with the prankster business of your mother, and I think Rita was involved in this later. And because we had to share a refrigerator, and so any food that was prepared or just bought would be stolen by the other fraternity members. And I recall once, I guess your mother made a cake, and pieces of it were missing. And she made another cake and put X-Lax in it. And since we were next to the bathroom, we knew who stole it. Let's see. Okay. Let's see. Spent, After that was we graduated and from medical school, went to internship in Ohio, Columbus, Ohio. And I recall packing up a VW with an ironing board between us and every way conceivable to try and get stuff on this VW on top of it, plus the back seats, plus whatever we could do, was loaded. And we took off and went to a Columbus, Ohio internship, a doctor's hospital, and started the internship. The internship was a tough one because I would work, I think it was 12-hour days, either days or nights, depending on the routine. And then your mother got a job with nursing job. And so our timing would conflict. A lot of times I'd come home and she'd be leaving. And it was tough because everybody was bleary-eyed. I remember going through an OBGYN clinic where you had to deliver the babies, and you couldn't really sleep well in that particular thing. You would sleep in the hospital. I would. And my eyes would turn red, bloodshot. And I would come home and I'm just dragging, and she would be just taking off and leaving. During those times, she still was very much a prankster, and she would find these crazy costumes for these costume parties in the residency where the interns and residents would live. And I recall some of that. And you have a picture in the album where she's dressed up like a cow. Okay. And of course, the front of the cow would be underneath of the cow. The underneath of the cow would be her front. And so everybody was trying to tease her with, they wanted to grab her nipple. Okay. Well, the udder. They wanted to grab the udders.
There was a picture in the album.
Yeah.
It looks like you were wearing, had a white face.
This was my costume.
What was this?
She dressed me up. I think it was a farmer's outfit. Yeah, she was with a cow suit, and I was a farmer with some sort of a white, where you couldn't recognize me, and the overalls and things like that. And anybody that knew us couldn't recognize us just from that. But that's where they came from.